So the saying that comparing strength-wise, the person that's stronger doesn't always win the battle is starting to become more clear to me with episodes like this one. Now, obviously, first of all, Netero said, he's not as strong as Neferpito's stronger, etc. And I understand now the reasoning behind what they're doing with like an episode like this one, where they're kind of like in the shadows, they're sneaking around, they're trying to get some information, they're trying to build to where they get to the point where, okay, they're gonna head off to the main castle and whatnot, and they're playing it safe. And with Gon and Killua, the trial that they're going through with basically fighting Knuckle in this episode, it really made me think, okay, it makes sense that they are training and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they still can go to the battlefield, and the reason is because even if they're not stronger or strong, they're not gonna, even after all this training, get to Netero's level. But the reason why they'll be able to go is because it's not always strength that decides it. If you can be more clever, if you can outmaneuver your opponent, if you can do so many different things, you can still defeat your opponent even if they're stronger than you. And that's what I'm getting from all this, to be honest with you. It's kind of like they're training, they're trying to fight Knuckle, and it's not necessarily that, even if they get as strong as Knuckle and defeat Knuckle over time, the next 20 days or so, doesn't mean that they're going to be able to be on Netero's level and go over there. It just means that they'll be to the point where they can fight at a certain level that is necessary. At least, you need at least a certain level to where, okay, now you can actually try to outmaneuver your opponent, and now you can actually try to do these things to where, okay, it's not a factor of strength anymore. A difference in strength is just a factor of pretty much, can you outdo your opponent? And this episode really made stuff like that clear. The ending of the episode gave a little bit of a mystery as far as like the other guy. I guess that's the other assassin that they're supposed to defeat. If I'm correct, it was Knuckle and another guy, and I think it's that other guy, that samurai-looking guy. Looked pretty cool, whatever. Faded out and whatnot in the background. And the episode overall, the animation was beautiful as always. But the episode didn't really have too much going on in it. It really, for the most part, was just focused on Gon and Killua once again training, and while that's necessary, a lot of times I feel like it's unnecessary to be shown in such depth in a way, because sometimes it could be fun and enjoyable to see it, but I feel as though in a critical situation like this, I'd much rather see what's going on as far as Netero and, that situation. I would have preferred more of a look into their situation exactly, because we got a little glimpse of it, of what they're doing right now, but we didn't really get a full-on view of what's going on with them. I much would have preferred that and then less of the training, because right now things are really hectic. They're in a pickle. They're in a real big shitty situation, and I think that that's more important and more necessary to be shown than the training aspect. Although it does give you a good insight of, okay, how they're going to be able to measure up when they do go to the battlefield once again. So, give and take with that one, but definitely this episode felt a little bit more slower than a lot of the previous ones, because, when you get episodes like, I believe it was 85 and stuff like that, when you're just absolutely mind blown, and then you get stuff like this, it's not necessarily as exciting, or things didn't move as fast as, those previous episodes and whatnot. And also, again, that whole kite thing is just freaking weird as hell. I see him, he looks like he's stitched up inside that jar, and it looks like that's becoming Neferpito's project or something. Like Neferpito really just wants to have some fun with Kite, whether it be his body or whatever. Neferpito, he or she, because everybody argues about whether Neferpito's a guy or a girl. I'm gonna say she, because it looks straight up like a she, and I believe in the episode they refer to Neferpito as she. Pretty much, it looks like she just wants to have fun with this whole kite thing. Like, it gave her a good thrill. I don't know how much of a thrill it would have gave her, because at the end of the day, it looks like, aside from some scrapes and some cuts and a little here or there, it looks like she really got Kite real good. So that's questionable as to how much of a fight Kite put up against her when he only had one arm. And I don't know, I would have loved to see that fight and more depth to that fight, instead of, kind of the way it was. Even though it added great impact to the overall result, I still would have liked to see a little bit more, because when you get to episodes like this, it really just shows she's not obsessed, but she's really intrigued in Kite's abilities and wants to see them in action again. And it's like, did Kite put up that much of a fight that it got her interested? It really makes you question. And the whole thing with the ants, it's been a really great build-up showing where the ants, like, the whole thing of them not listening and them kind of just being, going on their own path and whatnot, it's really starting to show that it's affecting them. Like I said from the very beginning, I remember saying once I started seeing where they were going with this, like, yo, this is going to be a bad thing for the ants, because if they don't run in unison, if they aren't all listening and going according to plan, then things are going to fuck up. And that's really where a lot of things are going right now. The ants aren't listening, and putting them in teams is going to be difficult. So it's finally paying off, that initial setup with the ants not really paying attention, so to speak. And I'm liking that. This episode, give it 2.5 out of 5. It did a couple different things, but for the most part, definitely didn't really move too much of the plot along, unfortunately. But it did have some good stuff, and the animation was beautiful, and a couple of little fight scenes we had looked amazing, as far as where they were training with Knuckle and stuff like that. And overall, it gave a little bit of insight into a couple different things, but it definitely didn't move as much as I had hoped it would. But hopefully next week we get a little bit more. And also, the freaking king is definitely on his way, because the queen's belly is huge, and when the king comes, all bets are off. So can't wait for that. That's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up if you can't wait to see Golden Killua kick Knuckles' ass, hopefully soon, and then move on to the final person they gotta fight, so that they can move on and go back to Netero and try to save Kite. We know that ain't happening. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and thumbs up if you can't wait to see the king's birth. Yeah!